Shalom, shalom, shalom. All right, first and foremost, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua. All right, we the sons of Thunder Israelites. Is our heart's prayer and desire that all Israel be saved. You already know what it is. Like the video when you enter the building, Baba Kashah. All right, let's get them likes up so we can catch this good old algorithm so all Israel can be edified, all right? The brother got a lesson for y'all entitled A Brief History of the Saint Michael, of the Order of Saint Michael, the brief history of the Order of Saint Michael. All right. So we're gonna get into it. First and foremost, I'm your brother Judah.
Hey, I'm Captain Oya. Oh, hey brother, hold on. Salaki. I also want to do a little clubhouse room. So when you finish, we're gonna have to start that.
Oh shoot, I didn't know that. All right, you doing it, you want me to do it?
It don't matter.
All right, it don't matter to me, whichever one's easy. All right, so why he do? Huh?
I'll do it while you do the announcements.
Okay, all praises, all praises. All right, cool. So we're gonna be on Clubhouse too. All right. Hey man, if you like the video already, put a 7 in the chat, Baba Kashah. All right. Put a 7 in the chat. I'm gonna shout some people out. Terrence Bolden, married 2 times. Warrior Micah Alam, Carla Taylor, John Gilchrist, John Allen, Beverly Pleasure, Shalom. You know, right? Sister Azaniah, Brian Christian Greer, Soldier Key Vaughn, all right. Soldier Sakur, all right. Shalom, shalom. Sister Natazah, shalom, all right. Who we got? Soldier Kadar Aharon, all right. Brother Ezra, shalom, King. Captain Yara All out there in San Francisco. Make sure y'all subscribe to their channel. All right. Brother Wynn Walker, Sister Jasmine, Brother Theophilus, Captain Malachiah, Soldier Shemaiah, KL Lioness, Shalom. All right. Wanda Liggins, Shalom. Sister Yadiah out there with Captain Yaquab in Fort Myers, Shalom. Amen. If you in that area, man, go ahead and hit us up, man, so you can get with the brother Yaquab and get on these streets, man. All right, Scott Anderson. Scott Anderson, Sister Shania, Holy Yasha Allah, Mina Israel, Soldier Knot, El Novas, Grieve, Shalom. Captain Israel out there in Alabama, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to their channel as well. All right, Shalom, King. Sister Kalea out there in Atlanta, Shalom. Brother West. All right, shalom, shalom. All right, and everybody's liking. They already liked the video. All praise. Soldier Yawasop, shalom. We're going to have something special about the Safety Act on the upcoming Thursday night class. All right, featuring this brother Yawasop, man. He's out there in Chicago. All right, he got some intel on some things that's going on. So we're gonna bring something special to the Thursday night class. We're actually going to do a little interview. We're going to set it up first, all right? We're going to see what's really to that Safety Act, all right? And Sister Arnona Bat Zion, shalom, shalom. My praises to the Most High, all right? Let me, this is what I'm going to do. Let me put my earbuds in because I know we're getting on Clubhouse, all right? Give me 1 second. We're gonna get this right, all right? Boom. All right, let me get up in the Clubhouse. Put me on the stage. Give me a green bean, Baba Kashah. All right. All praises. So we should be straight. All right, we should be straight. So, hey, man, listen. We had Brother Zephaniah, shalom. Brother Whitney Stevens, shalom, shalom. Hey, man, check this out, man. We had a camp in North Carolina, man. I got to talk about it, man. They had a bar hopping thing go on. They had a Captain Yakum, y'all throw some prayers up for the captain, man. Y'all throw up some prayers for the captain. He kind of under the weather right now. All right, so y'all make sure y'all throw up some prayers for the Captain Yakum out here in North Carolina. Make sure y'all follow us as well. Subscribe to our channel as well. But yeah, man, we had a little we had a unity camp with Yahweh's camp, man. They had a LGBT bar crawl. and a tranny show. And when I tell you that thing was wicked, that thing was wicked. Wicked. I'm talking about trannies everywhere, men half dressed in the streets. I mean, it was ridiculous, man. It was. Hey, but hey, the word of the Most High cuts like a two-edged sword, man. A lot of them people was getting cut to the heart out there, man. You see what I'm saying? We in the last days for it, man. As the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, man, it's still going on to this day, man. We got to pray for our brothers and sisters that they can get out of this lifestyle. And our brothers and sisters know that they shouldn't be in that lifestyle. And I'm gonna tell you why. We wasn't even talking about homosexuality at one point out there. We was talking about Esau and what he did to our people. And one sister went crazy. You're judging us because I'm like, hold up. So that's how you know in their spirit, they know they ain't supposed to do that. When they see brothers on the corner with a Bible, they know they ain't supposed to be in that lifestyle, man. So we got to pray for our brothers and sisters, man, that's in that lifestyle, man. It's heavy spirits on us, man. But without any further ado, like I said, the brother has a good class for us entitled A Brief History of the Order of Saint Michael. So with that, I'm going to yield to the brother. Get your pens and your pads out. All right, Sanctuary Shalom King. Get your pens and your pads out and get ready to learn something.
All right, come. Hey, Shalom, Malachi. And yeah, we gonna pray for you, Yakim, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And everybody else that's feeling under the weather. But Shalom to everybody in the room. Shalom to everybody on the YouTube. Judah, if you can, could you put the link in the clubhouse, please?
YouTube link?
Yeah, the YouTube link in the clubhouse, please.
I will. Right. And let's do a quick sound check real quick. If you can hear me on the clubhouse, can you put a 1 in the clubhouse chat, Baba Kashad? Okay, all right, Khan, all praises. And brother Captain Yahawada, can you say something just in case so we can make sure everybody can hear you on the YouTube? If you can hear Yahawada on the YouTube, please put a 1 in the YouTube chat. Hey, Warrior Makala, the Water King. I don't know how in the world I put that joint on backwards, man. I look crazy just now.
All right. We good with that though, because I got a lot to cover. I want to go ahead and get started.
No, we good. Just want to make sure everything was straight.
All right. So, shalom to everybody. Like the brother said, first of all, we want to give our honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh by Hashem Mashiach Yahushai. We have another lesson today. It is called The Brief History of the Order of Saint Michael. It's the Order of Saint Michael and Saint George. Mainly, the reason I wanted to go over this is because of the things that's going on with the Queen and everything in England. A lot of people have been asking for lessons on English history, the Dark Ages, things like that. And when the Queen died, a lot of you guys saw this emblem. So I took it upon myself to do the research for you guys, find out where it comes from, which I knew a little bit about it already, so it wasn't that difficult. We all know and teach as Israelites that King James was a so-called black man, right? And that the Stuart line, our line of so-called black people, Stuart meaning black or dark, right? Swarthy is a German variant of that word, which also means black or dark. So these people were black people, right? Hence by their surname. But that being the case, the Stuarts were the last ruling class in Britain and Europe before the so-called white people, the Edomites, come into power. Well, the power that they have now, right? So that being the case, we basically, Shalom Malachi, but we basically have a little lesson here where I'm going to be showing you guys the reason for that emblem, you know what I'm saying, where it comes from. If anybody that's on the YouTube right now that hasn't hit the like button, please do so that we can catch the algorithm, because this is going to be a lesson that they're going to make difficult to put out there with the history of the stuff I've done in the past. So before we get started, for everybody that doesn't know what this emblem is, what it looks like, let me just pull it up for you right quick in a picture. For those of you that's on the Clubhouse, sorry, you're not going to be able to see it. You can go on YouTube and check it out.
They can't hear you on Clubhouse.
You said they can't hear me on Clubhouse.
The little sound wave ain't even going when you're talking. I just put a joint in the chat that said they can't hear you. Well, somebody, all right, try it again.
Let me leave and come back. How about now? No, still not working? Okay, hold up. I might have to exit this. Sometimes the Androids be doing that with the Clubhouse app. They ain't, you know what I'm saying? So, what about now? Still nothing? I don't see it moving either. Say something to me, Judah. Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm not on Clubhouse, Salaki. I'm on Clubhouse, but
I hear you.
You hear me?
I hear you, Tom.
Okay, so he can hear me.
Yeah, there's a sister in the chat that said they can't hear. There was a brother who said he couldn't hear either. If y'all can't hear on the Clubhouse,
I see. I can't hear. I see Father say he can't hear, but then he said I can hear him. I don't understand. You see what I'm saying? And they said the replay is off. Judah, you want to restart the room then?
yeah, I'll exit out.
Go ahead and restart the room, handle all that junk, and then I'll just teach and they can catch up.
Okay, come on.
All right. So, yeah, go ahead, restart the room, put your Howard and everybody else back on stage, put the replays on, all that type of stuff.
Okay, come on.
I don't make rooms on Clubhouse, y'all. I just doing this to help y'all get the information. All right. So, basically, yeah, let me know when you do it so I can hop on. But yes, as I was saying, right, I'm just gonna show you guys a little bit of a picture right quick, just so everybody knows what we're talking about. We're gonna play a video and then we're gonna get into the history, right? So this right here is the image of the Order of Saint Michael and Saint George. Saint George was King George. So you know, King George the Third and the Fourth, basically both of those two Edomites, very big in the Atlantic slave trade. They're both in a way the orchestrators of that Negro land map that Israelites find, like all the time to prove that we had places in Africa that they knew to be Israelite, you know, in exile and stuff like that. Israelite tribes, Israelite camps, if you will, over there in Africa that were exiled. So that map was orchestrated and put together by King George's map maker, right? So George is somebody who actually founded this order, the Order of Saint Michael. And as you see here, there's a picture of a white angel, right? With like Roman gear, the little tiny Roman sword, the little Roman belt, and the Roman helmet with wings, right? The wings of an eagle in red, white, and blue, right? Ironically. And he's standing on top of the black man who is supposed to be, he's got the body of the dragon, right? This is supposed to be the devil. So we've got the white angel on top of the black devil, right? And this is the Order of Saint Michael. So today, just gonna get a little bit of a history of it, and then we're gonna go from there.
All right, go ahead and check your
word. All right. Bam.
All right, go ahead and unmute.
All right, can y'all hear me? Is it working? Still not working.
No, I think you straight. Hold on, let me put my headphone in. Go ahead.
Cause I don't see.
Nah, you good. You straight. You good.
All right, we're back. Gucci. All right, all praises. So let's get this video started. If you haven't hit the like button yet, Baba Kashab, please do so. Share the video so other people can see it.
And ping on the Clubhouse. Ping people into the room on the Clubhouse.
There you go. And if you can't see what we're about to show and you're on Clubhouse, hop your behind on the YouTube. All right. Let me do that. Okay. So, and of course, we're going to use fair use. That's how we're going to do this. This is the YouTube right here, right? Nubian Kemet. Thank you for this. But all right, let's start this video.
The painting show award given to British officials who work abroad is the Order of St. Michael and St. George. This consists of a star with a little enameled painting, and the painting shows the angel St. Michael standing on the neck of the devil, and the devil is a black man. This image is very similar to one that we've become familiar with, a policeman kneeling on George Floyd's neck as he says,
Now, I want to make something clear, right? Y'all remember the world outrage of the George Floyd incident, right? It wasn't something that just ended up being something that was big in America. everybody was protesting for it, marching and all that type of stuff in all different places of the world, right? They had a march in China, they had a march in Europe, they had a march in the Middle East, all that type of stuff. I think the Iranian president even said something about it when he was trying to condemn America and stuff. He talked about the George Floyd incident, right? So there's a lot of things that was going on, but the main reason that they brought this up in Europe, England, London to be specific, wasn't because they just love black people and wanted things to change. It was because they were trying to, they had an election going on at the time, kind of like we always have elections going on and stuff, and everything is for the sake of the election and who they want the election to be won by. So this guy is pleading towards the black people in Europe, and there was a plea for the black people in Europe to go a certain way, and there was a petition that was made, but obviously the group that was against the petition is the one that won. So the emblem still stands the way that it is. But this guy is one of the journalists that was working on the opposing side. The people in the Americas that would be known as the Democrats, right? They're basically the Democratic Party over there too. But they're the ones who like to have the black people on their side, focus on the black vote and the quote unquote minority votes and stuff. So they speak things on their news channels that would cater toward those people, right? So that's basically why he's the one speaking about this. It's not a black person up there because, well, it was a white media station and, the white Democrats that were trying to sway towards the black people in Europe with speaking about this emblem and how it kind of resembles the death of George Floyd, just from an English standpoint. So just to give y'all some background on why he's talking about that from England.
I can't breathe. And the idea of standing or kneeling on the neck of a black man is deeply embedded in these notions of dominance, of white people over black people, the dominance of Western nations over other countries. Now, one of the recipients of this award was a man called Sir Evelyn Baring. Sir Evelyn.
So he just told you how they have a history of, taking over people, mainly us, the Israelites, right? That's what their whole goal was. Now, he's about to just go over a quick history of a man, this guy right here, that basically got this award, just to tell you the type of people that they give the award to. I'm not going to listen to this whole thing because I don't really care about this Edomite, but this dude, just to let you know who he was, this Baron, Sir William Baron, whatever his name is, basically was a slave master in modern day time, right? After the abolition of slavery, he's a slave master that gets to go to Africa and basically colonize Africa for the British throne, right? And after his atrocities, he's cutting off Africans' heads, cutting off their hands, putting them in concentration camps that are literally resembling the ones of the people in the Holocaust during the same time period. But the people of the Holocaust got a country. These people didn't get anything, and this guy got an award.
Baring.
The award of St. Michael, with the black guy, with the white guy standing on top of the black guy. That's the award he got.
Was the grandfather of someone called Mary Wakefield. Mary Wakefield is the wife of Dominic Cummings, Boris Johnson's chief advisor, a man who has done more to cover up the record of current events than anyone else in this government.
And that guy was who's this dude's ancestor. He's been trying to cover up the work and stuff like that, which is the reason why they still have the emblem today, is what this guy's trying to say.
It's a lot.
He was governor.
What's up?
Hey, they say you mad low on Clubhouse.
Yeah, see,
they're telling us in the YouTube chat, so you might have to either put. I don't know if you got headphones you can put in.
All right, nope, I ain't got none of that for this phone. So if it ain't working, we might just have to hop off this thing. Cause I don't know why the mic ain't doing it. I can't even see the mic on my Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's wild. All right, so hey, hold on. Hey, if you're on Clubhouse, let me know if you can hear me. If you're on Clubhouse,
I hear you.
All right, hold on real quick. Hey, mute on Clubhouse, Elia.
Yeah, I did.
Hey, so listen, we having a little bit of trouble on the Clubhouse. We're not about to try to, keep opening and closing it. So if you are on the Clubhouse, you can click the link at the top of the room. All right, we'll give y'all about 2 minutes to do that. Just come on to YouTube, man. Just come on to YouTube if you want to get this lesson. Hey, man, the water for your support. I don't know what's going on the Clubhouse, but it's all good. We're going to get it in on YouTube. All right, so make sure you hit that green house at the top of the room where it says Sons of Thunder. Follow the room for future rooms, but we're going to transfer this strictly to the Clubhouse due to some technical difficulties. All right.
Quickly to the YouTube.
Yeah. So I will. Yes, we're moving to the YouTube. Excuse me. So I'll give it a couple of minutes for y'all to click the link. Let us know when you're in the building, when you get into YouTube in the chat, and I'll close it out. All right. Shalom.
All right, I'm gonna continue teaching. So I'll just stay off mute till y'all tell the brother what's going on, so y'all can still hear till y'all hop out the room. But yeah, so basically, this dude, his ancestors been trying to cover it up. He's still in the government today. So I'm not gonna go through everything he did, but I will fast forward to just after that, when it when it more pertains to us. So let's go here.
If anyone starts in trouble, they'll just get the head blown off. And they'll get the message in time,
We remember all this in the context of Boris Johnson telling us that to pull down statues is to lie about our history. The entire history that we are told about British imperialism.
Now they say to pull down statues is to lie about the history, right? But he's about to tell you that the whole history is basically a lie, because who was in rule before then? And when you go to Europe, do you find any of our statues? Except for when you go to like Russia and stuff. You know what I mean? But going to actual like London, England, you won't find many black statues of the black royals, the Tudor families, the Stuart families. You won't find the Navarres. You won't find none of those people out there because they was all black, right? You won't find our black statues. You'll find white ones now because of things like, First Maccabees 3 and 48, them covering the faces of the judges thereof, right? So, yeah, just check this out.
Is a lie. We, as a nation, have a greater level of pride in our empire than any other European nation. People look back with nostalgia to Britain's imperial past. That's impossible to understand unless we understand the massive fabric of lies, of deletions, which has airbrushed the colonial atrocities practiced everywhere we went.
He said the massive fabrics of lies, basically the cover-ups of everywhere that they went, right? Right quick, Julia, can you give me Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5? And are you done with the clubhouse? Because I'm about to.
Yeah, I'm shutting it down now.
All right, bet.
All right. You said Habakkuk 2 and 5?
Yeah, 2 and verse 5.
Okay.
Just to prove what he just said, right? He just said that their history, as he knows it, is a history where they've basically taken from everybody, right? Not just us. They've taken from everybody. And the Bible attests to this as well. Read that, Habakkuk 2 and 5.
Con, this is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 5. Ye also, Salakia, yea also, because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell.
Yeah, he doesn't stay at home. Anywhere he goes, just like the man said, he's got to get something. He has to want something wherever he's at. He enlarges his desire as hell, right? As big as hell is as big as any type of affliction. That's what Esau wants. He wants it all. Go ahead.
And is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
Right? So he gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Go ahead. Read verse 6, Smooth.
Con, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself thick clay.
Right? So he's basically tried to cover up things, right? He's laden himself with thick clay. You feel me? Just like the white man told us that this other white guy's been trying to do with his ancestor, right? But I just wanted to bring that out just to prove that, yeah, it's true that he has taken from everybody. But now we're going to get back to how he's taken specifically from us and what he took, which was the throne, right?
Imperialism has long been justified through the notion that the white man had a duty to civilize the so-called other races. Racism is an ideology, and to a very large extent it was created by British theorists. You can take it back to the late 18th century and the work of a physician called Charles White, who was one of the people who formalized this idea that there's a sort of ladder of life, and the white man is at the top of that ladder, and below the white man on the ladder is the white woman, and below that were people with dark skin. So
he basically took the order of man from 1 Corinthians 11 and 3, right? and changed it from us being the people on top to him being the people on top, right? Which is the resemblance of that figure. You understand what I'm saying? This picture right here. You see this? This picture right here is a symbol of Deuteronomy 28:43. How the people that are around us would get up very high and we would come down very low, right? The head would become the tail, and the tail would become the head. They go from the back of the line to the front of the line, and we got moved to the bottom. And once they took over, this was the symbol of that happening, right? This order of St. Michael and St. George. I'm gonna let him speak for about 50 more seconds, and then we're gonna get the real history. Take off the all right.
Ideology remains with us today. It's that ideology which led to the policeman kneeling on the neck of George Floyd, institutional racism, to systemic racism. And a huge part of that ideology began here in the United Kingdom to justify our seizure of other people's resources and other people's lives.
To justify what? Their seizure of other people's resources and other people's lives. Judy, you still there?
Come.
Can I get Habakkuk 1 and 2?
Come.
Read the verse 7. Smooth.
Okay, come.
Well, I'm gonna stop you, but read it smooth till I stop.
All right. Yeah. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter. You said 1 and verse 2?
2. Come.
Come. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 2. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. Why dost thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? Falling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention.
Right, go ahead.
Therefore the law is slack, and judgment doeth never go forth.
Yeah, because of the people that are running the world, right? They've got judgment being slack. They stole everything from us, and they they're able to say on TV back in 2021, 2020. You know what I'm saying? Whenever this thing came out over in Britain, why is he telling him on television? He's a journalist on the news over there, letting everybody know that they have a history of stealing resources. Why ain't nobody ever burn it up to find out what the news was talking about, right? What resources did the British monarchy steal? They're supposed to be the people that have run the British throne forever, right? Great Britain's supposed to always have been run by these white people. What are you talking about that they stole resources from people, right? Keep going, Doc.
Khan, Salakia. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore, wrong judgment proceeded. Behold, ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days, which you will not believe, though it be told you.
Right, because a lot of our people, though we tell them what's going to happen to Esau in the last days, a lot of them don't believe it. I was talking to a sister yesterday. She didn't know that Esau was the white man, so-called. And I sent her the video we did on Milk Monday, proving that Esau, who the Idumeans are. And then she sent me a message saying that, she is having trouble, like having problems with Esau because she doesn't really know any evil Edomites. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you never heard of George Floyd? You never heard of Philando? Like all these different people I can name. But it's because of stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? So, like, a lot of people don't realize how terrible the heathen are, but they will after this lesson. Go ahead, Doc.
Con, verse 6. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation.
Yeah, the Chaldeans here isn't the actual Chaldeans or the Chaldeans. This is the meaning for like the wise people in the land, the rulers of the land, the one that makes all the decisions, right? Because that's who the Chaldeans would have been back in Mesopotamia. Okay, they were a small group of people, but they were running things, right? That's who Abraham comes from. So he's saying in this land, this bloody city, he's gonna, raise up the Chaldeans, right? Go ahead. That bitter, hasty nation. Go ahead.
We shall march through the we shall march through the breadth of the land and to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs.
Right? Yeah, the Habakkuk be hard to read,
Right. I don't normally never have these problems reading it.
Man's wilding. He need to read that book. No, I'm playing. But Habakkuk is literally telling you, right, that these people, these wise people in the land, they're gonna go about possessing other places that are not theirs, right? What's the so-called white man known for? Possessing things that are not theirs. What did Esau just admit to in this video? Right? Possessing things that are not theirs.
Hey, and I got a video that I want to play as well. Just further proving your point. It's not that long, but it's further proving that point.
Let me replay what he said, and then we can get that.
Okay, in the United Kingdom to justify our seizure of other people's resources and other people's lives. These relationships continue by other means through our trade relationships today, which are often highly coercive, enforced by...
Now, I just wanted to leave that because we are going to talk a little bit briefly about the Atlantic slave trade, right? Because, well, when we go through the timeline of when this emblem was made, it's going to be kind of hard not to talk about King James family. So I got to tell y'all how they were involved in the slave trade, but not involved in the slave trade the way that y'all would think because of the time frames that y'all were given in school, right? So we're going to go over that a little bit. But he mentioned the slave trade or trade that was, you know, pushed heavily in the same sentence as in talking about, you know, us being put in situations where things are being taken from us, right? Thrones are being stolen from us, resources and substances being taken from us, right? So we're going to get how, you know, all of that happens. But Judah, you said you had a video.
Yeah, Con, it's quick. It's just to show, further prove that, you know, these people, including, you know, the Queen of Great Britain or whatever the hell she is, the pack, she a lot of her stuff is
Mohammedanian.
Right. You know, a lot of that stuff is stolen. So I'm not even gonna hold it long. I'm gonna go ahead and play this real quick. And if you want to stop and expound a little bit, you can.
You gonna play the whole 5 minutes?
Probably not.
Hope not. I got a lot of songs.
Nah, I ain't gonna play all that.
All right.
First presents the
I'm gonna skip through.
bell. Precious and famous gems in the world is the UK's Crown Jewel collection. It's also known as the Koh-i-Noor.
Oh, that's the spirit.
It's also,
I said that's the spirit because I ain't had no videos on the crown jewels. But okay, look, since we're talking about thievery, right? We're gonna have damn near all the scriptures I got for this lesson today is about them robbing us, right? In fact, give me Isaiah 42:22. What? And then go ahead and play the rest of the video.
Enormous. The massive diamond is worth over $1 billion. According to the royal family, the diamond was given to them as a gift. It isn't the whole story, though, behind the Koh-i-Noor. It's said to be cursed, and it has a bloody past. The name Koh-i-Noor translates to Mountain of Light. Queen Elizabeth doesn't wear this massive diamond around. In fact, the royal family barely ever sees it themselves. It remains in a vault, which is heavily guarded. The diamond is taken out only on very special occasions. It's so rarely seen, you'd have a better chance of seeing a unicorn than setting eyes on this diamond. The royal family keeps this massive jewel in a box that is bomb-proof. There's no way anyone can damage the diamond. It doesn't sit alone. It's kept beside the...
Did it say where this jewel comes from? What part of Africa?
Shoot, I'll look that up. I'll have the answer for you in just a second.
All right. If I'm not mistaken, it's African jewel, right?
Yeah, this
might
is
might have come from an Israelite prince, if I'm not tripping. But there's also another jewel. If this ain't the jewel that I'm thinking of, there's another jewel that she stole from an African prince who is an Israelite from West Africa. I forget his name, but you can look it up. He had a hat with bees in it, and he took the hat off, made everybody run around the thing, and I think he got killed for that because he had the queen get stung by bees and stuff because they made him take off his hat, which was supposed to be against his custom or whatever. And yeah, but she ended up taking one of his jewels too after they killed him. And he had this big old jewel, and you know, after the fact, they claim it was a gift until the actual real story came out like 20, 30, 40 years later on what actually happened to that king. He was a Bantu king. I just can't remember which nation he was from. But Go ahead, play the rest of that video.
That jewel is from South Africa.
South Africa. Okay, yeah. So there's if you know anything about South Africa, there was Nelson Mandela, who I personally believe was an Israelite. There was a lot of other brothers. There's that damn, I'm just going blank right now. There's a whole Israelite tribe from South Africa that people know about. The fake Jews over there, the Jewish people even claimed them to be Israelites. They couldn't, disclaim them, if you will. And these people are supposed to be the folks that took the Sankofa bird from West Africa, so they're connected to the people in Ghana and Nigeria and all that type of stuff, right? So yeah, but she stole this diamond from those people, right? And now the diamond gets hidden in a box. It's hidden in a vault, and her family doesn't even get to see it because it's such an expensive, impressive diamond, right? Comes from our people, but she's got hold of it, right? Go ahead, I play the video.
Tudor crown and St. Edward's crown in the Tower of London's vault that's known as the Jewel House. The British royal family wasn't.
It's not King Edward, the fourth, the one that crown is named after. He's a Tudor, and he's also a brother, right? So that crown that they housed the jewel on was even the crown of a brother. Go ahead, and I'll prove that as we go on in the lesson.
The first owners of this large gem either. It actually has a complicated and bloody past that paints a very poor picture of the royal family. The Koh-i-Noor diamond was first seen in 1628. Nestled inside the heart of a peacock, the jewel was the prominent focal point of the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan's peacock throne.
Now look,
at the time,
now 1628. Do y'all know when King James died? King James died in 1625, right? He had his stroke in 1625. His son, Charles I, takes the throne, still a brother. Charles gets beheaded in 1649. So between the King James and his son, 1628, which is when this diamond was supposed to be given to the queen, so to speak, we're in control, right? So that means this diamond was given to our people. It was given to our king, right? Now, I'm going to go over a little bit of the history about the Parliament situation with King James and stuff, and that's really how the slave trade happened. It wasn't King James people that wanted it. They were supposed to be just going to take gold from Africa and using people that were Israelites over there to help them find the gold, move them over to America, and allow them to go through indentured servitude and go like kind of like how the Irish people did, right? Afterwards, they get their land and they get them a couple of Edomite slaves to work for them on the plantation. That ended up going south. Parliament takes over. They behead Charles I. Then his kids end up taking over, Charles II and James II, and they end up losing control to Parliament, who continues to forward the slave trade. But we'll explain all that later. I just wanted to put out there, since the brother brought this video up, right? This video tells you that this diamond was given to them in 1628, which means it would have been given to Charles people, right? Charles being the oldest son of King James, who we know was a black man, which means this diamond was taken directly from us. Go ahead, Al.
The massive gem wasn't the most sought-after jewel associated with the throne. The Mughals were more impressed by the Timur ruby, which was a fiery red. Later, it was determined that the gem wasn't a ruby at all. It was actually a red spinel. While the Mughal rulers were sitting on the jewel-encrusted throne, the empire was flourishing, and that caused power-hungry nations to want a piece of the pie. In 1769, the Persian emperor made her...
I don't want to watch the whole video, I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, that's, good history there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all could go look that up. But she stole that diamond from us, right? So that's facts. That's the spirit, because I damn sure didn't have nothing on there. All right.
3 days ago, the East Indians called on the new king of Great Britain to return a jewel that was stolen from them that's worth 155. I think it's like 500 and something $million.
Yeah, so that ain't gonna happen. All right, so now for some history, right? I know y'all probably can't read this. I'll try to zoom in as much as I can. I'll read it for you, Judah. Yeah, I gotta zoom out. All right. Okay, so this is the picture. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
I see it. All right, good. So this is the picture, right? It says this month, this is from 2020, I believe. In this month of celebrating Africans, their history, and the contributions in this of interest to you, if this is of interest to you, then why not read and sign this petition? Okay, so basically they have an Afrocentric petition that's supposed to go against this Sunday. So let's read about it. It says, so it's the start of October, which is the United Kingdom, which in the United Kingdom also means the start of African History Month, right? Talk about crafty counsel. In America, Black History Month is February. In England, African History Month is October. In both places where the Atlantic slave trade predominantly happened, right? The group that was put through the slave trade only gets a month to learn about themselves in both places. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, it says this is supposed to be a time when schools, councils, libraries, and media, some corporate bodies, and community groups highlight the great good among the global African family and senior politicians, such as the prime minister, mayors, council leaders, equalities, etc. But they're not, right? The irony of the words, such as Prime Minister Boris Johnson saying Black British history is all our history, aren't lost on most people. You know what I'm saying? So just to fast forward, because she's basically trying to say that this is hypocrisy. It says, anyway, because she's going to talk a whole bunch of crap. Anyway, so back to the matter at hand. I, as the African or Black question, I asked the African and Black question coordinator, have launched this petition to start at the start of the African History Month and intend on reminding the BBM subscribers each week to sign and forward the petition. So they had this petition because of the George Floyd thing. Just to sum it up, so I don't got to read all of that. They're trying to say that this symbol, right? Damn. All right. This symbol, I hit an ad. This symbol right here, is supposed to remind them of George Floyd. They didn't like that with the, protests and everything that was going on over there. So it says, it says in late May, the image of white Saint Michael standing on the neck of Black Devil surfaced. My initial reaction upon this was, this is the image of Saint Michael and Saint George insignia, that it was fake. So some people over there in England didn't even know that this was still the symbol of the, highest honor in England. But then they found out it was only after a brother in America gets killed and they start protesting for it. So that's kind of why it was a slap in the face. And after the queen died, that's why they started circulating the image again, because they were hoping now she's dead, the petition should be, that had 18,000 signatures should be pushed forward and they should get rid of it. But they still haven't, right? The queen been dead for how long? A week? Right, Judah? You there?
Been there for 10 days.
10 days. So a little bit more than a week. Okay. So 10 days. How long it took for the Asians to get their little $50 million? Like 2 weeks?
Maybe
2 weeks, right? They signed this petition with 18,000 signatures 2 years ago. And they did a protest during the same time as the George Floyd protest, which lasted for a couple months. And the queen has died now for 10 days, and they still haven't done anything about the image, just to show you how much they care about you, right? And how quickly they get things done for everybody else. But it says, it seemed unbelievable that such an image of European white good saint and African Black bad devil could still be in use. That's until Lord Simon Woodley confirms its providence at the Zoom meeting of Pan-Africanism. And check this out. So I'm going to fast forward. Okay, it says, as we can now see, although the petition has been assembled, has been amassed a laudable 18K plus signatures, there's been no forward movement 3 months on since the cabinet office on the premise of the petition. And they say the reason is because they redesigned it in 2011 and it now features a light-skinned devil, right? So we're not going to change it because it's not a dark-skinned devil no more. Now we got a light-skinned devil up there. So you niggas should be happy because, it's not a black brother no more. Now it's a house Negro. So, be happy about that. We made it light skin. So now he's got a little bit of white in him, maybe, right? But we think not. The latest interpretation still perpetuates the color racist hierarchy. It's still racist against Black olive-skinned people and those of multiple heritage, right? Because there's a lot of what they call multiple heritage in England, what we call biracial here in America, right? There's a lot of that in Europe. So it's been a lot of that since the time of King James, even before that. So that being the case, this devil still signifies Black people, right? Even if it's light skin. That's the reason why they don't really care too much for the the princess or whatever the girl is with the black mama over there, right? So it's the same thing. So I just wanted to put that out there so y'all know there was a petition. The next thing we're gonna go over is the date. So when was this thing created? Now we're gonna get into the real history, right? So the Order of St. Michael starts April 28th, 1818, right? So this is years into slavery, right? Within the same 100 years that they so-called abolished it, or I'm not gonna say abolished it, when they emancipated it, right? That's the correct word. Just transferred it over to the church and state. But before that, in 1818, they create this symbol, right? So y'all see, okay? So the symbol with the white guy standing on the black dude neck, the whole George Floyd situation, okay? That starts in 1818. Now, something else that you need to keep in mind. Y'all know about the Purple Hearts and everything like that, right? In America, when you do something good with the Army or the Nobel Peace Prize, stuff like that. Well, this being one of the highest honors, if not the highest honor that you can obtain in English society, they also made it possible for Americans to get it in 1990, right? So there's people in America, some I'm sure are black because this is an Army award in America, right? Some people have been knighted. I've actually gone on, like, I've seen black knights get knighted on YouTube that got money and stuff like that, that do things for Britain, and they're dignitaries, ambassadors, all this type of stuff in America. When they go to Europe, they get knighted, and they get this symbol. So it says the OSM, or Order of St. Michael, was established in 1990 as a joint venture between the Army of Aviation Association of America, or the AAAA, and the U.S. Army Aviation Center, the USAAVNC, and had just one category of bronze. But the intervening years, the silver, gold, and honorary knight categories were established. So when you hear people talking about I've been knighted and they're talking about recent times, they mean they got this symbol. You understand what I'm saying? They got this award. All right. So just to move on to the next piece we got. This thing was started by King George in 1818. So just to show you who he is, right? It's this Edomite devil right here. He did have a black mom, or half black mom, Elizabeth, but that don't mean anything, as we know according to history, right? It's the only reason he got the black hair, because he's got a little bit of Jake in him, but he's an Edomite according to his pops. So, and he, thought like it, acted like it, moved like it, treated us like it. So that's George the Fourth. His daddy, George the Third, is the one that married the black girl, or the woman, she's black, but she was very light-skinned due to her mom's complexion. What else we got? All right, so Order of St. Michael. Let me just pull this up for y'all so y'all could get the history on this. All right. Order of St. Michael and St. George. It says, the most distinguished order of St. Michael and St. George is a British order of chivalry, founded on the 28th of April, 1818 by George, Prince Regent, later King George IV. He was acting as regent for his father, King George III, right? So that's basically what this is. The Order of St. Michael and St. George was originally awarded to those holding commands or high positions in the Mediterranean territories acquired in the Napoleonic Wars, right? So this was an award that was big for the people of Napoleon, which we know Napoleon was a big time racist Edomite, right? The Frenchman himself, the little short dude, right? So it says, and was subsequently extended to holders of similar office or positions in other territories of the British Empire. So other people in the British Empire were able to get this thing as well, right? So now, because this thing started in 1818, you have to know, just based on the history of it, who it is that they're talking about as far as the symbol, who it is that they're, portraying themselves being on top of. It would be the Stuart clan, right? Predominantly, because that's who was the ruling class that they took the throne from, right? So that kind of leads us into the whole slave conversation, right? Just for a hot second. So, last ruling kings of the empire would be King James' son, Charles I, who was from like 25 to 49. And then his sons basically shared the throne till one of them died and then the other one was taken out between 49 and 89, right? So only about 40 years between the two of them before they completely lost everything, right? So that being the case, we got to talk about the whole slave thing right quick. This isn't going to be the lesson on King James, but we will talk about it just a hot second. So let me put this up for y'all so I can read this. Sorry, it's been a little slow, but I got to go ahead. I had to make it thorough so that y'all understand what was going on. Okay, so it says the empire and slavery and the consumer revolution, right? So slavery and the Stono Rebellion. It says the transport of slaves to the American colonies accelerated in the second half of the 7th century. In 1660, Charles II created the Royal African Company to trade in slaves and African goods. His brother James II led the company before ascending to the throne, and under both kings, the Royal African Company enjoyed a monopoly on the transport of slaves in England, in the English colonies. Now, this isn't exactly true. This is something that's regurgitated. I'm going to explain how, right? It says between 1672 and 1713, the company bought 125,000 captives. Now, this time period is very important, right? Between 1672 and 1713. Now, I want to put out there, Priest Dang has done some lessons on this too in his King James lessons, and I actually got a conversation with him later on in the week to help me with my King James lessons that I'll be able to tie this together with y'all with some books. But 1672 is basically when the slave trade really started. Well, around 1663, which is after King James, right? Even though they tell you it really began in 1619. Those slaves that were taken from England in 1619 didn't start on an English ship. And the person that was running the English ship that took them to America didn't have English king's permission, the permission of King Charles I. And we're going to prove that in a minute. So the slave trade started under the rule of the Stuarts, but it didn't start with their permission, so to speak. It started with the permission of the Parliament, which was going against the king, even King James at the time. So we'll get into all of that in a second, but I just wanted to put that out there. It says in 1686, the English Guyana shows the logo of the Royal African Company, an elephant and castle beneath the bust of King James II. So this is a bust of King James II, right? This, I believe, is an Edomite coin of him, an Edomite version. The blacker coin would have looked the same with a little bit more black hair. He didn't have a beard. So, yeah, he was the brother with no facial hair. So he had the naked face, easy for them to make an Edomite out of it. But the coin, as far as the rest of it, was damn near accurate as far as how it looked. So, So I just wanted to point that out there just to show you guys the time period, but let's get a little bit deeper into it, right? First, let me show you what these dudes look like. So we got Charles I. This is the first son of King James. This is actually, this is Charles II. This is Charles II, the grandson of King James. Let me show you his son, Charles I. I got him on my phone. He's not on my computer. Salakia. All right. This guy right here. Let me make sure y'all can see it. This man is King James' son, Charles I, right? He's the one that took the throne after King James in 1625. All right. He gets beheaded by the Parliament in 1649. So he's killed. He's murdered, taken out, right? While he's the ruling king. Once he gets taken out, his son, James II, is given the throne, right? Now, all of this stuff is happening during the Atlantic slave trade. So you've heard people in like the conscious community talk about, well, how King James a black king and he was the king during the time of the slave trade, and his family, if they was black and they was ruling during the time of the slave trade, how can you still say that they was Israelites and this, that, and the third? Well, if you go into the history, the reason that happened is because they didn't technically have control of everything, right? They had the name of the king, they had the throne, but kind of like in America, the president doesn't run everything. He got to go through Parliament and the House of Representatives and all these different types of people, right? Congress, all that stuff. So it was basically the same makeup in England at the time. And King James himself had tried to stop the parliament. He dissolved parliament in 1611 after the Bible. And he called them back in 1614, never called them back again until he died. And then they basically took over. So they tried to share the throne with his son, Charles II, this man right here. And Charles ended up dying, getting killed by them because of things that he was doing, which we'll go over in a minute. But he found out that the parliament was doing the slave trade behind his back, behind his father's back. You know what I'm saying? They took his father out. So, yeah, he comes on the scene. He finds out they're still doing it behind his back, and he ends up losing power to them. So they end up forcing the slave trade upon him. He ends up losing the throne. His brother gets put in power, and they do the same thing to his brother until he's taken out in 1689. And then the slave trade's able to just go full hand. They changed the name of the company that these guys made that was for gold purposes, taking gold from the Hamites. And, you know, they ended up taking us instead, the treasure of the Most High. So that's the summary. Let's prove it. First, so that was Charles II. That was big brother. This is little brother, James II. We don't have any pictures of him completely black. This is the most Afrocentric picture you could find of him on the internet. Him being the last James to actually take the throne. They don't have any pictures of him that's black because they changed them all. But we do have a picture of his son to prove he was a brother too. If his son is black, then he got to be, right? So let me show you his son right quick. This is Prince James Stewart, the son of James II, the last king of the throne, right? So this is Prince James right here, right? So we'll go more into that later on, but now you know they're all brothers, right? So to prove the story of the slave trade, let's start with the execution of Charles, just to get the parliament thing out the way. All right. So it says the execution of Charles I. That's the first guy I showed you, right? Here. This guy. Okay. The first son of James. So it reads, the execution of Charles by beheading. He was beheaded. His head got chopped off in front of everybody. In fact, you remember them old movies you see where they have the whole like city turn out, they put you on a big old block that's got like stilts on it so everybody can see it no matter how far you are in the crowd. They get the guillotine and they chop you up, or they have the big old knight with the armor on and the big old knight sword and he cut your head off. That happened to King James' son, the King Charles I, right? In front of everybody because of Parliament. Parliament made the decision. So imagine Parliament making the decision, or the Congress or the House of Representatives making the decision to kill the president. And then they do it on national television in front of everybody and the people can't do nothing about it, right? That's basically like what happened here. So it says execution of Charles I by beheading occurred on Tuesday the 30th, January 9th, 1649, right? So if this is happening to the black guy in 1649, how easy you think it was for him to orchestrate slavery too, right? Wow, this is happening while he's on the throne. This is King Charles I getting executed by the parliament in 1649, right? Slavery already happened. It's already started. They're already taking people from Africa, right? No wonder why they couldn't stop it, because he's getting beheaded while he's sitting on the damn throne, right? His family didn't have any power because of the parliament. It says outside of the banquet house on Whitehall, the execution was culminating the political and military conflicts between the royalists, or, you know, the Israelites, the people of the house, the throne, right? And the parliamentarians in England during the English Civil War, right? Leading to the capture and trial of Charles I, the King of England, Scotland, and Ireland, and Wales, on September 27th, January 1649. The Parliamentarian High Court of Justice had declared Charles guilty of attempting to uphold in himself an unlimited and tyrannical power to rule according to his will. What was his will? I don't want those black people over there that you guys call black people. I don't want my brothers over there getting put into slave ships. because he found out that there was a man who we'll go over in a minute that he actually gave power to. He gave him a ship. He gave him power to rule the seas. And that man was going to Portuguese ships. The Portuguese and the Dutch were the ones who first started taking us from Africa, by the way. It wasn't the English. But this man who was given power by Charles I actually was going and robbing Africans from these so-called Africans, Israelites, from these Portuguese and Dutch ships and taking them to America and starting provinces, right? So we're going to go over this man in a second. But he's the one that started the slave trade. And when James found out, or Charles found out about it, Charles actually tried to separate himself from this man. And when he took it to Parliament, Parliament found out what was going on. They were making money off of this thing already, because this is 49. He stole the first ship in 1619. So this is like, King James dies in 1625. So they have like 30 years, basically 20 years, almost 30 years, that they're stealing us from our people's ships and then bringing us to the land that was supposed to belong to our people under our nose, because the king wasn't coming to the Americas to make sure everything was straight. He's sitting on his throne in England, right? So that's what the Edomites were doing while we're, running everything in England. And then once Charles found out about it, Charles tries to stop it. And then they kill Charles for being a quote unquote tyrant and wanting to rule things by his will, right? Because he's trying to stop the Parliament from making money off of his people and enslaving them. So just to kind of back that up, I had a message from Priest Daniela. Shout out to the priest. Let me read this right quick. It says, what I can tell you is that the original intent was not slavery. It was to secure gold for the crown. The problem was other countries such as Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands, which we'll go over in a minute, which at the time were ruled by Esau, though we hadn't lost England yet, right? So picture us having England, Scotland, Wales, the people under that monarch, but then everything else, France is falling. We had like mixed monarchs in France, so every other damn Navarre monarch, it was a Navarre monarch, then it was a Edomite monarch, and then some of the Navarres got mixed in with the Edomites until they completely took over France. So France was like the last shared monarch we had. That's why Napoleon was able to take that over, right? Because it was his people that took over France. But so we had France, and then we lost France, and so now the only place we really have is England, Scotland, Wales, and then we lose England, Scotland, Wales to these people, right? Via the Parliament. And then Parliament basically takes over, and then they hire their own kings, which is how George's family comes into power. So reading on, he says, so Esau basically had everything except England, and they were deep into the sale and trade of Africans or Israelites, and making it so unfortunate that we ended up falling into it ourselves, right? Because of the things that I'm about to read to you guys, right? He says, also, we had the crown after losing it during the reign of Charles I. Because I asked him, did we still have the crown during Charles I? Because I was trying to figure out if Charles II and James II were actually, Israelites and stuff, which I already knew, but I wanted to know what he thought. So him saying that we still had the crown after Charles I is him clarifying that Charles I gave the throne to James, Charles II and James II, right? His two sons. So they lose the throne to Parliament, right? It says, but we didn't control Parliament. So the parliamentarians that we just saw kill Charles I are the people that we didn't control. So it's like we're the president. Picture Barack Obama actually being an Israelite, and then the House and the Congress is all, Edomites, and they're going against him and his family, right? Which is trying to help us. And we're in, let's say, Mexico. Mexico's Africa. We're in Mexico. They're going to take us from Mexico after they take us from the throne to bring us to Europe or America to enslave us, right? That's kind of how it happened. So, yeah, he says we still had the throne after Charles I, but we didn't control Parliament. It's a lot, but he was going to give me he basically said he's going to hook me up this week and give me the whole rundown. So that just to clarify that we didn't have control of the Parliament, and it was the Parliament that basically started the slave trade under the reign of King James. It wasn't King James or his family. Now, to prove that, we have the man who was caught in the act himself, Execution. Okay, bet. Hold on, let me pull this up for y'all. Because I also want to read you this thing on the Parliament, if I can. Yeah. Hold on a second, 2 seconds. All right. All right, my bad. So I wanted to show y'all this with King James 2, just so y'all have a little bit of clarification on him with the Parliament too, so y'all know for sure, and y'all have the proof to show the people, right? He ain't have nothing to do with the slave trade. And then we're going to read on the company that they actually started to go take the gold from the Hamites, who had our people in captivity, right? So it says, when James at the length succeeded to the English throne after the death of Elizabeth, which Elizabeth was a Tudor. And so if you know anything about the Tudor families were black people. The Stuart families were black people. The Tudors ran Scotland for a long time, and Ireland, right? And when Elizabeth ends up dying because she didn't have any kids, that's how James' family ends up taking the throne of all of those places: Scotland, Wales, England, and Ireland, right? We end up getting all of those thrones and giving it to James because Elizabeth didn't have any kids, right? So, it says he was already, as he told the English Parliament, an old and experienced king and one with clearly defined theory of the royal government. Unfortunately, neither his experience nor his theory equipped him to solve the new problems facing him, which would be the Parliament. He lacked the qualities in the mind of character of defiancy. So he wasn't a really defiant man, and that basically what hurt him. Said James hardly understood the rights or the temper of the English Parliament, and thus he came into conflict with it. Because it's hard to understand the rights and temper of, entitled Edomites that didn't have the land, but are just thinking to themselves, we could take the land if we could take down the king. He didn't understand why they're trying to take down the king if we're the ones that gave you guys everything, right? We helped you come from the caves. We taught you how to bathe yourselves. We gave you literacy, taught you how to eat, all that type of stuff, right? Why would you turn on us? That's basically what he's thinking. He couldn't understand why they had the sentiment that they had towards him, but they did, because Esau has an undying hatred, a perpetual hatred, if you will, right? This is something that James had to find out on his own the hard way, which is why people like Anthony Weldon called him a faggot and stuff like that, or a homosexual, excuse me. They called him that basically because he wasn't knighted, right? So that's one of the Edomites who had power with the Parliament, which is why that story was able to be pushed after James died, even though his family was on the throne, because Parliament were the people that had control, right? So yeah, things like that. It says his 22-year-long reign over England was to prove almost unfortunate for the Stuart dynasty, for his years before 1603 had been fortunate. It said there was admittedly much that was sensible in his policies in the opening years of his reign as the great king of Britain. Fast forwarding, it says, for one thing, he established peace by speedily ending England's war with Spain in 1604, but the true test of statesmanship laid in the handling of Parliament, right? It says, moreover, Parliament established a monopoly for granting taxes made its assent necessary for the improvement of the crown's finances, which had been seriously undermined by the expense for the long war with Spain. So James, who had so far successfully divided the corrupted Scottish assemblies, never mastered the subtler art of managing the English Parliament. AKA, these people was mad that their money was getting messed up, so they was trying to find out more ways to make their money, right? They couldn't find out more ways to make their money other than the slave trade, so they were going to do it under his nose. He didn't know nothing about it. He died with the slave trade happening, right? His son James, or Charles, was the one that found out about it, and when he tried to stop it, which I'll show you in the next slide, that's when, they basically came together as a parliament to try to stop him from stopping their money, and when he took it more into his hands to try to stop it, they beheaded him, to basically send his kids a message, right? You're not going to stop us in the things we got going on with our money, even if it's, involving the enslavement of your people. I'm trying to fast forward to the good part. All right. It says his fondness for lecturing both houses of parliament about his royal progressiveness offended them and drew forth such counterclaims as the Apology of the Commons 1604. The parliamentary statesman used the tutor dignity, his cousins, James Shambling Gate, resentless, gruntly, and dibbling mouth, ill benefited his exalted claims to power and privilege. So basically that he was unfit to be king because X, Y, and Z. And basically it's just going to read on saying that he had problems with them over money. And, you know, once he got sick and died, they basically did whatever they could to take things over, and they succeeded in that, right? So now, just to give you history on the Africa royal family or Royal African Company, the company that his kids started, right, to take gold from Ham. Now you see here, they got the two Israelite brothers dressed up like Gad with the crowns on, right? Because, you know, yeah, they got the elephant, which is a symbol of Africa, strength, right, on top or holding up the castle in the English flag. So they basically let you know, hey, they helping us build ourselves up, right? And they were going to help these people out as well by giving them land in the Americas where they were going to be taking this gold too, right? From the English throne. They were bringing it to England. They were also supposed to be taking some of it back to the Americas, which is how they found the roots. But that didn't end up happening, and I'm going to explain why. So that's just the picture. That's the image to show you. It wasn't no racist thing at first. They were using the brothers and sisters in Africa, right, to work with them. And we're going to prove that. It says the Africa Royal Company was an English mercantile trading company, right? Not a slave company, but a mercantile trading company set up in 1660 by the Royal Stuart family and the City of London merchants to trade along West Coast Africa, right? So it's all to trade along the West Coast of Africa. It was led by the Duke of York, who is James II, and it was taken over by him in 1685. Now, mind you, his father's dead in 1649. He gets beheaded. So Parliament's already taken over in 1649. They make them start this company in 1660, but the company had really started earlier than that, before 1649, right? So just keep that in mind. It says the rack shipped more African slaves to the Americas than any other company in the history of the Atlantic slave trade. It was owned entirely by the British Crown, right? Now, it says after becoming insolvent in 1708, it survived in a state much reduced of activity until 1752, where they changed the name to the African Company of Merchants. And that's what the name stayed until 1821, right? Which is basically the end of the slave trade by ship. So, yeah. And going into this company, we see that this company, the African Company of Merchants, had nothing to do with the Stuart family, but this is the company that was owned by King George and his people, and they're the ones that had something to do with the Negro land map, finding the Africans and the Israelites in West Africa, and, you know, all that type of stuff. That's the African Company of Merchants, which comes from the African Royal Company. All right. Now, why did James people start the African Royal Company? What's the point of doing this? Let's find out. As we said, it was to just take the gold, right? But there was a situation that happened. Let me get this piece first. And then we'll pull out the guy that stole us from everybody. All right. So it says, charter granted to the Company of Royal Adventures of England trading into Africa in 1663. This charter issued by Charles II, which was forced on him by Parliament, represents the moment at which the Atlantic slave trade officially began. So they're saying the actual slavery, hardcore bondage that was known, like we're only taking these people, we're only going to Africa to get these slaves. It was documented 1663, right? 3 years after they make this Africa Royal Company, okay? Which is why that's the company that's labeled for doing the majority of the slave trading. But fact of the matter is, this company was started by Parliament, not really the Jameses or the Stuarts, if you will, right? Because they basically lost the throne in 1625 after King James I died. King Charles I never really had control because he was fighting Parliament the whole time due to his father fighting Parliament before he died. And then Parliament killed his son, right? So once Parliament kills the king, Parliament's in control. So from 1649 to 1663, Parliament's in control. They're the one that start this company, not King Charles II. King Charles II is just the king in power while this company is being ruled by the Parliament, right? So it said this led to the rapid expansion of the British involvement in the slave trade and the enslavement of Africans or the Israelites. It is estimated that between 1663 to the end of the 17th century, that the British enslaved and transported over 332,000 Africans across the Atlantic, and it says over, right? So we know it was way more than that. The majority were forced to work on plantations, producing sugar, tobacco, and other crops to the European consumers, right? So, yeah, that was just to show that. Now, for the last piece of the pie, this man, the guy that stole everything. Okay. So it says, what began in 1619? The human cargo that arrived in Virginia in 1619 had come from the port city of Luanda, now the capital of present-day Angola. Okay, we all know this according to history. If you took history class or anything like that, if you know anything about the slave trade, that's where it started, Angola, right? It says back then it was a Portuguese colony, not an English colony, the Portuguese, right? That book I give you guys, the Tariq al-Fatash, where they talk about the Portuguese and the Dutch going to West Africa to take slaves in the 1500s, right? That's before the 1600s. It's because they had the colonies. They were the ones that started the slave trade, not the black people in England, right? So it says most of the enslaved are believed to have begun being captured in the ongoing war between Portugal and the Kingdom of Ngongo, right? So this is Portugal and African people, right? And we're around African people. That's why we end up falling victim to it. Now, there was a Portuguese ship that picked us up. Estimated 350 captives were loaded onto these Portuguese slave ships called the San Sao Batista, right? Or San Juan Batista. We've all heard of this ship before. Now check this out. This is the history that they don't teach you in class. It says that ship was en route to the Spanish colony of Veracruz when two English privateer ships, the White Lion and the Treasurer, right? Now this is when the English gets involved in it in 1619. Not because they took the people from Africa, right? Because this person who owns this ship takes these people from this Portuguese ship, right? Not Africa. So it says this owner of the White Lion, English ship, and the treasurer, two of them, and they intercepted and seized some of the Angolans aboard. According to James Horn, president and chief officer of the Jamestown Rediscovery, both ships were owned by powerful English noblemen, Earl of Warwick, Robert Rich, right? Who's Robert Rich? Right quick. Robert Rich. Name to remember. No, Israel don't like history, but I'm going to give it to you. All right. Robert Rich, second Earl of Warwick. It says, naval commander whose privateer ventures, we just read about was privateering, helped to estrange him from the court of Charles I, right? He estranged himself from the court of Charles I, who took the throne in 1625, because Charles finds out in 1625, after he took the throne, that the slave trade started because of this guy, Robert Rich. It says he was involved in the colonization of America, associated with the foundation of New Plymouth, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and later Rhode Island, 1644. These are all places that inhabited slaves, Israelite slaves, North American Indian and African, right? In these places. And this man was a part of it. He was given the throne by Charles's people, right? Well, he continued the throne. He was a good friend of Charles's people. He was actually given the throne by Edward's people, the Tudor clan, his great-grandfather, whatever. So Charles knows him. Charles gets mad at the man. He separates himself from Charles, and that's what ends up making Charles' name bad with the Parliament. Charles finds out that the slave trade's happening. He tries to stop it, and then he gets beheaded by the Parliament. Now his son, Charles II, is forced by the Parliament to make the African Royal Company, and after Charles gets taken from the throne, James II is forced to continue that march until they take James from the throne in 1689, which is when they basically changed the name from African Royal Company to that African Company of Merchants, which the merchants are the parliamentary people. And that's how the slave trade ends up continuing, right? Or beginning, if you will. So that's just a little bit of the history. Just to show you what the Robert Rich guy looks like. He was not a brother, though he was given power by black people, right? Which is another reason why you should never trust your enemy. Because like iron rusted, so is his wickedness, right? So this devil right here was the homie of Charles I, who was given the ship and the power to be a privateer, pirate, if you will. And he ended up taking stuff from Charles, Charles' brothers and sisters, and bringing them to New Plymouth and other places like that to start a slave colony. And once Charles finds out about it, Charles gets killed, right? This picture was taken in 1642, probably in America, right? You see all the ships in the background. It's taken in 1642. Charles dies in 1649, right? So, yeah, that Edomite is who started the slave trade, basically, when you do the history. It wasn't the Stuarts. They were just in control at the time. And yeah, his family was given power by Edward IV, who was a Tudor, right? And just to prove to you that the Tudors were black, simple Google search. These are the cousins of King James, the people of Elizabeth I, who was the ruler of Scotland and Ireland before that. Tudors were black. It says, indeed, the black Tudors, right? The black Tudors are just one piece of the diverse jigsaw of migrations that make up the multicultural heritage of the British Isles, which stretches back to the Roman period, right? Because who took over during the Roman period? Septimius Severus, 183 AD, right? Or 193 AD. So that's when we take over. And from then all the way to the 1300s, 1200 years approximately, we are ruling these lands, right? The Tudors were one of our families. It says the black Tudors came to Britain from Europe, from Africa, and from Spanish Caribbean, right? Just to give a little bit more, they tell you Welsh people are white, right? It says the Tudors were a Welsh English family that ruled England and Wales. Where is King James king of? England, Scotland, and Wales, right? In Ireland. They Welsh and English, right? So Welsh people were black too, so-called, right? Starting with the first monarchy, Henry, right? Let me show you Henry, homie Henry. Let me show you Henry right quick. Because Henry's a brother too, and they try to make Henry look white. I'm going to show you Henry's son, Henry VIII. This Henry VII that they talking about, but Henry VIII, I got a picture of him as a brother. The next Henry. Judy, you there? We're going to get some scriptures.
Come.
All right. No, you was waiting. I had to get the history out the way, though. This is Henry VIII, right? This picture was taken in the 18th century. So, they're still trying to make him look white, but he's black. Here. This is after 18th century. This is what they try to make him look like now, right? See the difference? So, clearly, this is a picture taken from a black picture, right? That's Henry VIII of the Tudor clan, one of the last Tudors to live. Henry VII was one of the people from Edward that basically helped him get the throne. So that's how those white people ended up getting the power that they got to be able to take us over in the first place during the time of King Charles and King James. All right. And yeah, hold up. So let me pull this out too before we get to scriptures, just to show y'all when we actually lost the throne and how it correlates with that African company of merchants and when they took over, right? Remember, we told you that the African country of merchants really took over in Cavalier de Saint George. This is a French brother and he's black, just to show you. But yeah, so this is James Francois Edward Stuart, the great-great-grandson of King James. That picture is fake. This, for those of you that didn't see it earlier, is the real image of this guy right here. this image is the real Prince Edward Stuart. All right. So, but yeah, this man, Prince Edward Stuart, dies, or not dies, but loses his power in 1688, right? It says James Edward Stuart, born June 16th, 88, dies January 1st, 1766, right? So slavery is going on. There's a prince of the Edward clan that's still alive, still got nobleship, still got noblehood, but he's not in power and can't do anything to help his people. I'm going to tell you why. Well, they're going to tell you why. It says the old pretender is what they called him, because he used to put the wigs on and stuff like that, pretend like he had the throne, as they called him, but he didn't really have power. He was a steward, would dress up like he had the power, would take the pictures like the noble prince and everything, but didn't really get power. So they call him the old pretender, right? He kind of lost power before he turned 1 year old. Says he was the son of King James II, right? And the 7th of England, Scotland, and Ireland, and his second wife, Mary of Modena. He was the Prince of Wales from July 1688 until just months after his birth. His Catholic father was deposed of and exiled, right, in a glorious revolution in 1688. So his father was made Catholic, right, and then he was deposed by the parliament, sent away. James' two Protestant elder daughters, the prince's half-sister, Mary II, and her husband, the prince's cousin, William III, became co-monarchs. The Bill of 1689 and the Act of Settlement in 1701 excluded Catholics such as James, both of them, from the English and British thrones. So they made them become Catholic, right? And then kicked them out of the throne and said that it's only for, co-monarchs, Protestant monarchs and stuff, if you will, right? So that's how that happens. They get kicked out the throne in 1689, same year as the Africa Company of Merchants gets his name, right? Which starts the slave trade. Really kicks it off, really puts it into high gear, right? So all of that happens while these people are in power and they can't do anything about it because they lost control of Parliament during the time of King James. King James had Parliament. He was having trouble with him in 1603 all the way to 1625 when he died. Between 1603 and 1625, between 1610 and 1625, he only called Parliament in one time in 1614. So yeah, one Parliament meeting the whole time he was alive for from 1610 to 1625. That's when they were able to do all the stuff they was doing. Last time he met with them was 1614. You could look it up. 1619, Parliament's doing things with this white guy that we're going to finish reading about. Hold up. Yeah, this dude, Robert Rich, right? So here, I'll read this part again. It says that the two English ships, the White Lion and the Treasurer, basically intercepted these Portuguese ships, right? Robert Rich was an anti-Spanish and anti-Catholic, right? Check that out. Anti-Spanish and anti-Catholic. What did we just read about what King James' son was forced to become when he had the throne? And why his son and his great-grandson were kicked out, right? James II was forced to become Catholic. James II gets kicked out the throne because they banned Catholics from having the throne. Then everybody becomes Catholic. It's crazy, right? Now they got the Pope out there standing and doing stuff. But when the brother was forced to become Catholic, they kick him out, exile him, right? They kick his son out, Prince James. And then the guy who starts the slave trade comes out to be a hater of Catholics. Ain't that some stuff, right? So, reading on, it says, and he profited from the thwarting Spanish shipping in the Caribbean, right? Because he's taking them from the Spanish ships and bringing them to the Caribbean. The White Lion, which flew under the flag of the Dutch port, and what? He's an Englishman, an English nobleman, Earl of Warwick, an English province that's supposed to be owned by the English King Charles, but he's selling English King Charles's people in 1619 under the Dutch flag in an English ship. Huh? Didn't we tell you that the Dutch and the Portuguese were the ones that started the slave trade? Now you see why I went the way I went with it. This dude was pretending to be English, which is the black people. He was pretending to have the English monarch's best interests at heart, but he's actually playing cards with the Dutch people, the people that hate the black folks over there, want the monarch to go down, want it to be overran by the parliament so that they can, work together, which is what ended up happening, right? So King James ends up losing the throne. King Charles ends up losing the throne. King Charles gets beheaded by the parliament. Parliament is the one that started the slave trade in 1619, as you see with Robert Rich behind the back of King James. And then they just continued it after they kicked out James II. Right? So we'll get more on that when we do the lesson of King James and his family. But I just wanted to put that out there so nobody's thinking that, James people was wrong for what they did and stuff, because they didn't do nothing. But that brings us back to this picture, right? Because now you see with that history why this picture is made the way it was made. Why they have this white guy standing over this black man, right? They wanted us to be considered the devil because they knew that at some point we ruled over them. All of the history of England and Europe, Scotland, Wales, Britain, Russia, Bulgaria, you know what I'm saying? All of that was us. We was running that. And as the Byzantine Empire fell, they had the expulsion of the Jews in the 1300s in England. They had the expulsion of the Jews in the 13 and 1500s in Spain and Portugal. So they're expelling us, right? As they're expelling Jews, we're having to convert to these different things. That's why we became Catholic and Protestant and stuff. They find out which one we become, and then they make it a sin to be that in the land. So once brothers become Catholic, because being a Protestant is a problem, right? Then they ban being Catholic. Once they kick the Catholic out, King James and Prince James, then they bring Catholicism back to the throne. Now the throne is Catholic, right? The Queen is Catholic. She's cool with the Pope. The Pope come and pray over everybody, right? They all speak the little Latin stuff. They kicked the brother out, though, for being Catholic because he converted thinking that that's what they wanted him to do. He gets kicked out, and then they forward the slave trade. That's the history that they didn't teach you in school, right? Judah, give me Isaiah 42:22, right? That brings me to what we were reading. So as you see, were people robbed and spoiled, right? What did they rob from us? What did Esau say at the beginning? The whole history of England is the history of them, taking stuff from other people. Well, the main thing they took was the throne. And the main people they took from were the Israelites, right? People who had control of the throne. Once they took control of us, they were selling us while we were on the throne behind our back. Once they completely overtook us, they create this symbol, and then they mock us with this symbol by making it the world-class dignitary symbol of the planet. For you to be a big-time person and receive any type of, dignitary status, you get this symbol, even if you're black, so-called, right? That's to mock the real kings of the earth and to let everybody know who's running it now, right? The earth has been given to the hands of the wicked. Now y'all see what that really means. Give me Isaiah 42:22.
Connor's book of Isaiah, chapter 42:22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivered, for a spoil, and none saved restore.
You see that? Keep reading. Verse 25.
Verse 23. Who among you will give ear to this?
Yeah, who among you listen?
Come. Who will hearken, and who will hear for the time to come?
Mm-hmm.
Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers?
Yeah, man. Who gave Jacob to a spoil and Israel to the robbers, man? Why are we in a situation where we just getting robbed and spoiled by these people? Well, the Most High did it because we ain't following his laws still, which is why y'all getting to learn this lesson because brothers and sisters still don't want to follow the laws of the Most High, right? But now you see how detrimental that was. If you didn't know before, those people that all your brothers and sisters was crying over last week, they was crying, and you supposed to be the ones getting that type of respect from the planet because they took the throne from you. They used to cry like that in England when one of us died. If they would have had television back then, they would have been doing all that type of crap for us. They took that from us. And they basically making us worship them as the king and the queen of the earth, right? That's how it works. And this symbol that you see the queen rocking all the time, she's got a carriage with this symbol on it. A whole carriage, like Cinderella. and it's got this painted on the side of it, or wrap, whatever. But that's on the side of it multiple times. So that when she drives by, the horses carrying her through the city, everybody can see who's in control. Keep reading.
Did not the Most High, he against whom we have sinned, for they will not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it hath set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart.
Yeah, man. Our people been robbed by these people, and y'all don't even know the history. Our people have had everything stolen by these folks. They got emblems mocking us for it, right? Folks bringing up George Floyd and didn't even do the history on what actually happened here. They probably would have got the petition signed if they was able to prove what this symbol means. But there is nothing in that article that did any of that. Esau is the one that said today in the video that we watched that Britain has a history of stealing stuff from other people. But he wasn't specific on what they stole and who the people is that they stole from. But the history doesn't lie. Right? Give me Obadiah chapter 1 or verse 3. Obadiah verse 3.
The book of Obadiah,
okay,
verse 3.
Yeah.
The pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?
Right? Keep going. Or jump to verse 5. So
verse 5. If these came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they have not stolen till they had enough?
If thieves came to thee and robbers by night, wouldn't they have stopped stealing? Like, don't robbers, when they rob your house, don't they leave you with something? When they broke into the car, they didn't just steal my whole car. Right? They stole stuff from the car, but they ain't take the whole, Jake ain't take the whole whip from me. Right? Even when they take the whole whip, when you find it, you still got stuff in the car. You still got seats. You might have a radio, you know what I mean? Your rims might be gone, but you still got some bricks. They leave you with something. What does Esau leave when he takes stuff? Nothing. Esau don't leave you anything, bro. He take everything. That's literally what Obadiah asking. Yo, like, don't the robbers leave you something, bro? Like, they don't steal your house. Esau got laws to take your house, bro. To commandeer it. If it's a war, he could pull up in your joint. Hey, bro, you got to leave. This is my house now. Esau makes laws for that. When Jake in control, we ain't think about none of that stuff. But they got laws for it in their land. Because that's how they think. Keep reading.
Come. If the great gatherers came to thee, would they have not leave some grapes?
Yeah, man. When the great gatherers come, don't they leave you something, bro? Something to munch on? It might hit the ground. You might got to pick it up from the floor and eat it off the ground, but they left you something. Right? Esau didn't leave us no grapes, bro. He didn't leave us a statue. He break the noses off the statues, bro. So we can't tell it's us. When it's a black statue, they paint it white. Change the color of the hair. Maybe change the whole hairdo. If they can't change the hairdo, they change the whole statue. Because they don't want to leave nothing. Right? These are the people we're dealing with, man. Give me Micah chapter 2, verse 1. But the Most High delivered us to these robbers, right? The thieves, because we disobeyed his law. So now they standing over us just like that, right? George Floyd-esque. And they wearing the emblem to show you who the earth has been given to show you who's in control. Ain't no way you can tell me that Esau ain't the devil. Esau is not the person that we talking about right here. If they got stuff like this in existence, where's Ishmael's symbol standing over the black man? If he's Esau. Why Xi Jinping ain't got no symbol standing on top of us? Kim Jong-un. Right? It's evident who Esau is because of the things that they do. You know them by their spirit. Read that, Micah.
This book of Matthew chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand.
Yeah, when the morning is light, they practice it. They do whatever they can just because it's in the power of their hand. Just like this. They take the throne from us and then they create a symbol, a picture. They make it the highest honor that they could give somebody. And the honor is mocking us. The symbol is mocking us. People got this picture framed in their house in gold, 14, 18 karat gold frames and stuff like that because it was awarded to them by the queen. And it's that symbol. So when they walk through their house, they're reminded all the time, we took over the Israelites. We're running the kingdom, right? That's what this symbol basically represents, that they're running the kingdom. They got it. It's theirs. They won, right? This is the we won. We beat y'all symbol. They literally, look at the brother. He's in distress. His eyes open. He's looking like he's helpless. There's one foot on the arm, so you can't do nothing. The other foot on the head to show full control, right? And then he got that knife there, like threatening, like I dare you to try something. He's got full control over us, right? And they made us the devil, as if we're deceiving people. We're the deceived, though. You feel it? Give me Job 5. Verse 1.
This is the book of Job. Chapter 5 and verse 1. Call now, if there be any that will answer thee, and to which of the saints wilt thou turn? For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I curse his habitation. His children are far from safety, and they are crushed in the gate. Neither is there any to deliver them. Whose harvest the hungry eateth up, and taketh it even out of the thorns, and the robber swalloweth up their substance. Although the affliction cometh not forth of the dust, neither doth trouble spring out from the ground.
Read the verse 5.
That was verse 6 right there.
Okay, come. So they take our substance, right? That's basically what that scripture was saying. They've stolen from us and taken our substance, man. They robbed, they jugged us till they wanted to take, and everything they took was the substance of the Israelites, the things that made us who we are, the things that made us great, right? They took our Bible, they took our heritage, they stole our identity. Literally, physically, they turned the people that everybody knew as Israelites into white people, so-called white people, right? They stole our heritage, our land, our money. That's substance, right? That's all things that they have in their possession right now because they take it from us. In fact, go back to Obadiah, read verses 10 to 14, because Obadiah spoke about this too when he condemned it.
Salaki, what verses you wanted again?
10 to 14.
7 and 14?
So 10 to 14.
10 to 14, Salaki.
And since we was talking about, the Catholic stuff, look, the Catholic company makes their very own, this is what we have in the thumbnail, makes their very own Michael emblem. This one got brown hair instead of blonde hair, but he's still standing on top of a black devil. Can't make this stuff up.
This is the book of Obadiah, chapter verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered in his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was as one of them.
Mm-hmm. They was there. They was there trying to kill us, right? They was there trying to take us over, trying to put us in captivity. And when this happened, they was there. They was there when King James was dying, when he's on his deathbed, and he gets sick. He's sick for a couple years, and they selling his people, right? After he's dead, they still selling his people. Once his son finds out, they kill his son to keep selling his people. What? Then his grandsons come to the throne. They make them create a company to keep selling the people. Come on, bro. Like, this is Esau. This is why they got rebuked in Obadiah. This is why Ezekiel says we gonna get to lay hands on him. The vengeance is gonna be the Most High through us, right? Vengeance is all of ours, says the Lord. Basically, if you want to be real, because we gonna get some of it too, right? It's because of stuff like this. Keep going. Read it, verse 14.
Verse 12. But thou should have not, Salakia, but thou should have not have looked on the day of thy brother, and the day that he become a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced of the children of Judah and the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress.
Yeah, man. And look, the day of distress. This is basically symbolism of that. The brother's in distress right now, right? And look at Esau just standing over him, pompous with the staff, damn near poking him in the fifth rib like Yahweh Shai look like or something. I don't know what's going on there. But he just disrespectfully stepping on the man, right? This is the calamity. The reason they made the picture like this is because it was laughable to them. The way that they've got their foot on our necks. They had their foot on their neck back in 1818, and they still got their foot on their neck right now. George Floyd happened 2 years ago. There's nothing new under the sun. There ain't nothing changing. Brothers got to wake up. Sisters got to wake up. Or this is going to continue to happen. Keep going on.
Thou should have not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou should have not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity.
Yeah, man. They shouldn't have killed us, and they shouldn't have tried to take our stuff. They laid hands on our substance in the day of our calamity. They stole from us, literally, right? And then they still killing us. We got things like Zechariah 11:5. It still happens, right? That's reminiscent of George Floyd too. This is damn near, you could look at this as a cop taking out a brother, right? Or taking out a sister. Your brother's crying out for help and distress, and nobody's there to save him. Nobody's delivering him, like the scriptures say, right? It's damn near a biblical symbol that they pass around to make fun of the Israelites. But they don't let everybody know the Israelites are so-called black people, right? So they can't tie two and two together. But if you know anything about the Bible, this symbol should be very easy to recognize. You know what I'm saying? Give me Sirach chapter 34 and 22.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 34. Salaki. In verse 22. And it reads, he that taketh away his neighbor's living slayeth him, and he that defraudeth the labor of his hire is a bloodshedder.
Yeah, man. They're bloodshedders. And they've slayed us since they took our stuff from us, bro. Because you got to think of it like this, right? And I make this statement a lot. The reason they teach world history the way they do is because it gives Esau power. It gives all the other nations power that learn about their history. When the East Indian kid learns about Gandhi, it make him feel a certain way in class. He'd go through the rest of his life thinking he's going to be like Gandhi or whatever Indian general he learned about in school, right? When the Asian guys learn about Nobunaga, Oda, Ieyasu Tokugawa, these great Asian generals, them damn samurais, Hanzo Hattori, all these different people that we learn about in school, right? They like, yo, I'm gonna be a ninja. You know what I'm saying? They start learning about Jackie Chan, Jet Li. They start seeing movies about them. They bringing it back to them folks that learned at school. The Hanzos in them, right? when the African kids learn about whatever African people they learn about, it's helping them out, right? When Ishmael learned about Osama bin Laden, even though he learned about him in a negative light, that's still helping them out because Osama was giving the white man hell. And that's what they be getting taught at home, to do that to Esau, right? What do Israelites have in school when it comes to world history? Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, because they don't teach you about Malcolm X. They don't teach you about Marcus Garvey unless you go to college. So, like, who are they teaching us, right? They're not teaching us anything except for slave stuff. That 1 month of Black History Month in England, October, here, February, right? And that whole month they're going over slave stuff. They're not giving us no glory. Because to speak about our glory, the soonest time period they have to speak about full glory of the so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American man is the Dark Ages. Dark Ages include time periods, you know, in England when we running stuff. That's going to be a detrimental thing for them. So they don't teach that history, right? That's the situation. That's the way it is. So, you know, it's a good thing that y'all in here getting this history because you're not going to get it nowhere else. It's just the facts. Give me Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 1.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 22,
Almost.
and verse 1. And it reads, Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Now, son of man, wilt thou judge the bloody city? Yea, thou shalt show her all her abominations. Then say thou, Thus saith the Lord God, the city sheddeth blood in the midst of it, that her time may come, and maketh idols against herself to defile herself.
What verse you on?
I'm on going into verse 4.
Oh, damn, my bad. I'm tripping. Jump to verse 29.
Verse 29. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery.
Yeah, so they robbed and oppressed us, man. This bloody city. Who's the bloody city? We talking about Habakkuk. You can go to 2 and 12. Woe to the people who establish a city with, you know, blood. That's Esau, bro. That's who we talking about right here, right? Read that again.
Verse 29. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery.
These people of this bloody city have used oppression and exercised robbery, right? They oppressed us, Israelites, and they've robbed us of everything we had, which is part of the curses of Deuteronomy, by the way, right? There's a couple of curses that talk about how we would, you know, build things and not get to enjoy them, live in them. We would plant crops, not get to reap the harvest, so to speak, right? I'm paraphrasing. So things like that, right? They literally take stuff from us, in our land, outside of our land, on our land, from us, right? Anything. It's being taken though. It's a dub. They robbed us and oppressed us, but they will pay for it. What verse you on?
Still in 29.
Read the verse 31.
And have vexed the poor and needy. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. Mm-hmm. And I sought a man, and I sought for a man among them that shall make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it, but I found none. Therefore have I purged out, therefore have I poured out my indignation upon them.
So he looked for something that was going to stop him from taking these people out, but he didn't find nothing. So he's going to pour his indignation out on these people, man. It's going to be a dub, right? Because they keep doing things to take us out, to stop us from finding out who we are. And they make it difficult for us to even learn history like this, right? A lot of people, because of the way we've been taught in school, y'all can't sit through a damn history lesson. Y'all don't like all the reading and all that type of stuff. I enjoy this type of crap because, you know, it lets me know who I am, lets me know what they did. If you don't know the history of something, you don't know where you're going. You don't know what's supposed to come after that or what can come after that if you don't know how it started, right? That's why I like to go through the history thing. So tell you where we're going to end up at the end of the day. Because just like this picture, right, that they have up there, the the Saint Michael emblem with the white guy standing on top of the black guy is a scripture, Revelations 3:9, that talks the opposite from our standpoint, right? Tells how the synagogue of Satan that say that are Jews that are not, but do lie, how they're gonna be, worshiping at our feet one day, right? And if you think about it, these people technically are like a synagogue of Satan themselves. If you go into the etymology of Britain, I've heard Priest Daniela say this before. I've looked it up. I've seen it. The etymology of Britain is supposed to be people of the covenant people, right? The Bretonians. So Bretons. These people of the covenant are supposed to be Israelites. So the original Britons would have been us, right? Now we know that the British throne, just like the English throne and the Jewish people, it's all pertaining to the Jews. They're like us, right? So the British people, in a way, also fit that that Revelations 3:9 curse, because they're pretending to be us as well, people of the covenant. And we see the people of the covenant, the stewards, the tutors, the Navares, they're the ones who were running this land for a very, very long time. And we just lost it in like into the 1600s. So, I think that's something to be proud of. And now y'all have the history, at least more in depth. If you don't know the full thing, you at least have the history to tie the pieces together as to why there was a slave trade in 1619 and King James died in 1625, right? So now though he was king of England, he didn't send anybody on a ship to go get Africans. He was sending people on ships to go get gold from Africa. And those people that were sent out there on the ships, one of them being Robert Rich, was actually stealing Africans or Israelites from those Portuguese ships of Portuguese people that were enacting in the slave trade, the ones that started it, and the Dutch ships, which he ended up, working close with to put us in slavery. And once King James found out about it, King James dies. Once Charles finds out about it, Charles tries to stop it, has a longer war with the parliament than his father had, and then he gets beheaded, and then his kids don't want that same smoke. One of them ends up, getting taken out. One of them ends up getting exiled, and then the prince gets taken off the throne within 3 months of him being born. So ain't nothing you could do as a 3-month-old against a grown man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's how they lost the throne, and that's how the slave trade was able to go on while we were, in power. So yeah, that's how that went. So I hope y'all enjoyed the history. Hope y'all liked the lesson. Give me let's get one to close it out. Let's get Isaiah 14:1.
Congress book of Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1.
Just to show how things gonna be when we get to the level we supposed to be at, right? Once we come back to these law, statutes, and commandments, we stop dealing with these heathen, like a lot of our ancestors was doing back in England, which is why we end up in this situation, right? We just be people to ourselves, worry about ourselves, build ourselves up as a nation, then we're gonna go a lot further. You know what I'm saying? Even as far as we can to the promised land. Go ahead, read that out.
Congress book of Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave unto the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids.
Mm-hmm.
And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
All right. So with that, we are the sons of Thunder Israelites. It's our heart's prayer and desire that all Israel might be saved. Hope y'all enjoyed the lesson. Share the video if you haven't. Like the video if you haven't. And, also, if you haven't RSVP for the Feast of Trumpets, do that. And yeah, see y'all next week. Peace.
Shalom.